2 to 3 years. I believe some of the schools are making it 3 years right now. Second pathway is to do the direct licensing, to challenge 3 exams, and after that, if you're successful with that pathway, then you pass your exams, you get your license to practice. So I did the first pathway, which is I wrote the first exam, which is assessment of fundamental knowledge, and I passed the exams really well, and I applied to different schools within Canada now. So I got admission in those schools. Now, if you're going through the direct licensing, which is you don't want to go back to school, you have to write the first exam, which is the assessment of fundamental knowledge, which is AFK. Then after which you write a second exam, which is more like OSCE. We call it assessment of clinical judgment. And after that, you write the assessment of clinical skills. So they'll determine your skills, they'll examine your skills. So if you pass those 3 exams, then they'll give you a license to practice. That's the second pathway. The first pathway is you pass the first exam, you apply to different schools, and if you get admission, then you go back to school for 2 years and get your license. Now, from Nigeria, if you have your eyes set on practicing dentistry in Canada, what you can do from Nigeria is to start your document evaluation. Now, evaluation in the sense that you need to be able to send your degree, your transcript, and all those things to the licensing body in Canada. Usually, they are the ones that will review your degree. They will review all the criteria, all the necessary documentation, and they'll get back to you and say, okay, you are eligible to practice. Sorry, you are eligible to start taking the exams. Okay, meaning your degree in Nigeria is kind of equivalent to what they have in Canada, and you can start taking the exams. Okay, so those are the 2 major pathways. But what I tell people is, if you have your high sets to practice dentistry in Canada, just be proactive about it. If you already know that you're coming to Canada, maybe you got an admission to study, or maybe you are coming in as a permanent resident, you can start that process, because that could take up to a year or even more than a year, depending on how lucky you are. So usually people should start doing that from Nigeria. And once they get that approval, by the time they are submitted their documentation, then probably are in Canada, then immediately you get your go ahead to start writing the exams. And if you are ready that time, you can start challenging those exams. Yeah. Now, one thing I must say is this before I forget. Those exams are very tough. Those exams are very challenging. So you really have to study really well. So you have to study really well. What a lot of Nigerians do is they enroll for a coaching class. So you have all these international. So once they get to Canada, you enroll for a coaching class. They are going to kind of teach you what kind of questions, what to expect in the exams, and of course that would probably help you 30%. 70% of the other 70% is how much work you put in it. So eventually, when you do those and you write the exams, you pass the exams, then you can move to the next stage. Whether you want to go back to school or you want to challenge the direct license. Now, practicing dentistry in Canada and coming to Canada, there are 2 different things. So this is what I tell people. Now, if you want to come to Canada, there are routes to come to Canada. It's either you apply for a permanent residency, or you come in as a student. Now, that's not guaranteeing you to practice dentistry. Dentistry is another ballgame entirely. Now, when you now get to Canada, then you can start your journey on practicing dentistry, because it's very expensive. Those exams are very expensive and time consuming, and you need a lot of money. Sometimes people have to kind of also for the first 2 years to kind of break even and save some money before they start challenging the exams. Yeah, so that's that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I'll be taking the 3rd question. The 3rd question says that what opportunities are available at a fresh graduate, and how can we approach them in Nigeria and in abroad?
Okay, thank you very much for that. Yeah, so I touched a little bit on that when I spoke previously. So I said there are lots of opportunities there. And what I want you guys to know is this. Of course, the best thing is to come in here and practice dentistry. Okay. But The other good news is that there are a lot of people that are dentists from Nigeria that are not practicing dentistry yet, and they are doing very fine. You understand? Getting into dentistry is very challenging. You understand? Even their own students, the people that were born and bred there, they find it very hard to get into dentistry. So again, how much more you coming from, from another country, from a foreign country? Again, it's possible. I'm not trying to discourage you. It's very possible, but you have to be very dogged. You have to be very hardworking, and you have to be very, you have to persevere, because there will be down times, there will be good times. So there are other opportunities. Some people come in, they do a master's degree or a diploma degree, and they like their line. Like for me, I have a master's degree in public health. That was my option too. Dentistry didn't work because I like public health. I was involved, as you guys know, I was involved in a lot of community outreaches when I was in Nigeria. I did a lot of COMSA president. I did a lot of stuff. I did a lot of coding and stuff. So I liked public health. So I had that back of my mind that if I try dentistry, it didn't work out, I'll do public health. Again, people that are into public health, they make a very decent living and they're happy with their life. Okay, so that's one. Some people don't even practice dentistry, they do IT. I've seen people that, they leave whatever high profession they are, or whatever degree from Nigeria, and they just take maybe something entirely different from their first degree. They still live a very good life. So again, like I said, there are lots of opportunities. There are lots and lots of opportunities. The country, Canada is the country that's actually is very, very enabling. It gives you, creates an enabling environment. Even if you are still struggling, trying to save up, you can always get jobs around that can help you save up. And that was how I was able to do it. When I was doing my master's, I picked up 2 jobs. I was working in the cafeteria and I was working overnight in a store. I was saving up money, to pay up my tuition for my master's. And at the same time, I was also saving money for my dental exams because I didn't have any funding from back home. So again, if the country wasn't enabling, there's no way I would have actualized my dream. So there are other jobs that you can do that are not necessarily dentistry when you come to find your footing before you eventually challenge for dentistry. And if you don't want to practice dentistry, some of you probably not what you like. Again, I don't want this to be all about dentistry. It's not what you like. You can still find yourself there, do something entirely different, and make a very good life for yourself. So lots of opportunities.
Dr. Banjo, before we go, so to make things clear, you said you got your master's and then you were working 2 jobs to be able to pay your tuition fee and also write your exam. So now it means that before you even started with your master's, you had applied and they've accepted that, oh, you are eligible to write their exams.
Yes. So while I was in Nigeria, I knew I was coming to Canada. I already got admission. So I'd already started the process. I already went to academic office in CMUL, University of Lagos, College of Medicine. I know someone there. Okay, help me send my transcript to the NDEB, which is the body. Okay, the NDEB is the National Dental Examining Body, Canada. Okay, they already sent my transcript. I was already in the process. I did for US and I did for Canada. Okay, so already by the time I moved to Canada, while I was doing my public health, I think end of my first year, I already got a notification from both the licensing body in Canada and the licensing body in the US that I can start to write their exams. So at that point in time, it was all about being strategic, saving money. So these exams are very, very expensive. Okay, saving money and knowing when to launch to start to write your exam. So, like I said, it's all about being proactive now. You're in 400 level, you're in 500 level. There's no excuse. You're in final year. You're even, as far as I'm concerned, it's getting too late for you. You need to be thinking in that line. If you want to leave Nigeria, there are people that like it in Nigeria and they will probably stay back. It's not a bad thing. I have an older brother that's a dentist and is doing very well in Nigeria. But the point here is, if you want to japa and if you want to come to Canada, you need to be back proactive. You need to think ahead. You need to double your thought process. You get what I mean? So yeah, that answers that question.
Thank you very much. So just not to drag you back, this transcript you are sending, is there a particular grade that is expected so that people can actually know if they have to work to, because we use the old pass, credit, distinction, so that people can know if they have to put extra effort into, because at the end of the day, we have a pass, you're still graduating as a doctor. If they need to put in extra effort, is there anything like that?
Smart, very smart question. Now, see, whatsoever you do, try to get a good grade. Now, the licensing body, they usually don't have a problem with the grading. They only want to see that you have graduated as a dentist, and they'll maybe after vetting all your results and stuff, they'll tell you can write the exams. But where your grading might actually come into place when you're applying to schools. So remember, you're not the only one. You're not the only Nigerian applying. That's one. You're not the only one in the world. There are so many people from India, from Pakistan, even from the UK, from that, the one who practice. And you guys are going through the same process. It's always very good you put your best foot forward. So I know it's a pass or fail. If you can get a credit, get a credit. If you can get a pass, get a pass. It's not a must that you have to give distinctions to them. But yet, keep putting your best. Because they're going to send your transcript, they'll send your raw score. Like they will send that raw score. They won't just say pass or fail. You put pass in front of it, but they will send your raw score there. So again, it's always very good you do really well in school because it's a plus. Once they see your raw score, they would probably grade you on that as compared to someone from India that they don't do negative marking and the person is coming with a score of 85, 90. So like I said, don't say you just want to pass. I get it's good to pass first, safety first, but you need to do well. That's a plus. It's not a minus because you never know when it's going to be useful, especially when you are going back to school. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. The next
No problem.
question is, what are the dentistry options in private practice, HMOs, residency, and lecturing abroad?
Okay, abroad, like I said, abroad, Canada now. So again, I can only talk about Canada because it's what I've done, right? So I don't know what is applicable in the UK or not so much in the US. But in Canada, you have different options. If you want to do private practice, just go through those two pathways. Either you go back to school, like I went back to school for 2 years and I'm in private practice. So this is where I work right now. This is my clinic. I'm in private practice. I can see all forms of patients. Okay. If you do direct licensing as well, you get your license to practice and you can see all forms of patients. Okay. If you now want to do residency, okay, that's a step ahead, right? Now, I wouldn't say it's a step ahead, but again, it's a step. You want to go back to school. Now, usually, if you have a DNT or a DDS, it's a big plus, especially in North America, because you can apply to schools, and that's a plus. A lot of their students still want to do residency. So they usually pick them before they pick someone with BDS from Lagos. I haven't said that. There are cases of people with BDS with very good grades. So that's why, again, good grades that get residency slots. But you see more of that in the States, I mean USA, as compared to Canada. Now, in Canada, the slots are not that much, and there are so many people chasing it. So they would rather probably consider someone with a DDS or a DND before they consider someone with a BDS. I haven't said so. There are rare cases that people get into residency programs. Okay. Now, with that review, if you don't have a DDS or a DND and get into residency program, you probably have to, once you finish, you only be able to do, let's say you get into a specialty program in perio, you're only able to practice perio. So you're only able to practice perio. You can't do other things. You can only do that perio. Now, about lecturing, if you're interested, people go through that master's route. For example, I can apply for masters in oral biology. And once they get masters in oral biology, from there they get a PhD. And from there they get a teaching position in any of the universities in Canada, and they can teach. So they are also lecturing position. If you're in clinical practice as well, like me now, I have a master's degree and it is something I'm interested in lecturing. I can apply to different schools because I have a DMD degree and I have a public health degree from a university in Canada. I can apply to those schools and I can get a faculty position. So again, it's all about options. There are so many options. Some of these things you might not be able to internalize it now, but by the time you get in the process, it becomes clearer. But like I said, you can do residency if that's what you want. You can private practice. You can do that. It's really nice private practice, and you can also lecture if you want, especially in Canada.
Thank you very much, sir. So the next question is, how lucrative is dentistry outside Nigeria? Do I get to live the life I have always wanted?
That's it. Yeah. See, guys, well, I've been practicing for 2 years now. I'd say, yeah, exactly. Just 2 years, just 2 years now. I can tell you, like, Life is good. You understand? Life is good. No, I can't. I can't give you guys figures, but life is good. As a dentist, as long as you are busy, as long as you are working, you are going to make money. You are going to have a very good life. I can't complain. Trust me. Like myself, 10 years ago and now, it's like miles apart. And glory be to God for that. Not to claim any glory, but the point here is, as a dentist in Canada, again, like I said, Canada, as long as you are busy, you're in a busy practice, and you are getting things done efficiently and effectively, you are going to live a very good life. Again, you are not going to be rich like Bill Gates. You're not going to be rich like, what's the other guy, Elon Musk. You understand? I don't want to sell false hope to you, but you are going to be very comfortable. You'll be able to use the kind of car you want to use, live in the kind of house you want to live. The children will have a good life. The spouse, everybody will be happy with you. You yourself will be happy with yourself. And dentists are considered one of the people that earn a lot of money as well in North America. So again, like I said, it depends on how busy. Because the way it works here is, again, it's not really they don't pay you by salary, they pay you by contract. If you sign a contract and say, okay, so percentage of how much you make, we're going to pay you. So meaning, the more work you do, the more production you make, and the more money gets to you. So again, so you can see a dentist that is poor if he's not busy. So you have to be busy as a dentist to live that dream that you want to live. But like I can tell you, life is good. That's just what I can say. I can't give you figures. You understand? Before Buhari started, I start to audit me.
No
But life is good.
But life is good even after they remove the taxing and every other thing, right?
Yes, life is always, because the thing is this: you are going to pay a lot of taxes because you are one of the top, I would say maybe top 5%, top 10% high earners in the country. A lot of people, Canada is a country that kind of, it's not like Nigeria. There's a good taxing system here, and they try to make sure that there's no gap between the rich and the poor. It's not so much. So they tax more of the rich than people. I wouldn't say poor, because they are poor people, but at the same time, they don't want that gap to be much. You cannot be extremely rich unless maybe you are a superstar musician like all these Justin Bieber, Drake, all these people that have extraordinary talent or are innovators. So if you are a dentist, a professional, again, you're going to be rich, you're going to be very comfortable, but again, you're not doing the extra rich that every other person is poor to you. You're going to be very comfortable, don't get me wrong, but you're going to pay a lot of taxes. You're going to pay more taxes as compared to someone that is just working in a grocery store. So it's your money they will use to repair the contract, make it nice. So that's the way it is. So, but you'll be very comfortable, I can say.
Okay, thank you, sir. At this point is when we say God win. The next question would be, what other countries are welcoming to Nigerian dentists, both African countries and countries worldwide?
Well, like I told you guys, I can only talk for Canada, right? Because that's what I've done. All I know is Canada is wants dentists. There's a lot of opportunities in Canada. There's a lot of opportunities, whether you're practicing dentist or a non-practicing dentist. So Canada is a choice destination, as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy raising my kids here. I'm happy living here. There's relatively very safe. Education is very good. I've got 2 education here anyways, compared to what I have in Nigeria. Don't get me wrong. Nigeria provided the foundation. So don't never despise your BDS degree that you're coming out with, because it's going to is the foundation for you to build on. So I don't want you guys to always say, Nigeria is fine. We know Nigeria has its own problems, but take advantage of what you can get from Nigeria. To be very honest, the cost of dentistry to the cost of education in Nigeria, dentistry is ridiculously cheap. I went back to school for 2 years here and I paid through my nose. And if you are going to the States, you're probably going to pay more. It's not cheap to study dentistry here. So, which explains the reason why you have more facilities here, because there's more funding, because students pay more money as compared to Nigeria. So again, you are getting that quality of education. It might not be, in terms of hands-on, it might not be up there, but at least get as much as you can get from Nigeria and build on that if you want to leave the country. So that's that. So opportunities for us. Just wanted to say this. Like I said, one thing to practice dentistry and is one thing to come into Canada. So you have to be a PR. If you have to be, is either you come in as a student visa with a student visa, and along the line you want to apply for a permanent residency, or you come in as a permanent resident. And because if you come in as a permanent resident, then you have you have more opportunities from the get-go.
Thank you very, very much, sir. So this question I want to ask, you kind of answered it a bit before, but just to make it more explicit. It says, can I practice dentistry or do any other dental related jobs in Canada with my BDS without converting to DDS or DMD?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So a lot of people come in and they work as dental assistants. The challenge before the dentistry itself, like doctors from Nigeria, they come into Canada, they challenge like dental assistant program, they get into a dental assistant program, or some of them get jobs from the get-go. Sometimes some of them go back to School of Hygiene, dental hygiene, to get that degree, just to give them that head start, so that they have been working in a dental clinic, and kind of give them an opportunity to know how the Canadian system works. Some people also work as dental reception, so you can still work in and around the dental office, if just to gather money. Because if you are working as an assistant, again, you're going to be seeing patients, but from an assisting point of view. You understand? People use that to gather money, to get things going in their life, to be able to challenge the exam. So you can still do all those things. But if you want to practice dentistry itself, that you want to be doing extractions, you want to be doing fillings, you want to be doing crowns and bridges, you want to be sinking implants, you want to be doing stuff, you need to go through all those pathways that I listed, so you can get your license. You need to be licensed to be able to do all those. So yes, you can work as a dental auxiliary pending the time you sort out your license. A lot of our people are doing that, which I feel is good. I didn't do that because I didn't have that opportunity at that point in time, but which is I feel is very good, because it gives you that insight on how dentistry is being done in North America. And by the time you eventually get your license, the switch is not abrupt. It's easier for you because you've already worked in the dental office.
Thank you very much.
Number one.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a question too that says, for the permanent residency, how difficult or what are the steps? What's required to have a permanent residency in Canada?
Okay, so excuse me, that's another different talk entirely, but I'll just try to glance through it, because that part is very important. A lot of schools won't give you admission if you're not a permanent resident. A lot of schools won't give you admission. So that's another different ballgame entirely. I'll try to give an overview. Now, when I came into Canada, I came in as an international student. So I wasn't a permanent resident. Okay. And express entry, have you guys heard about express entry? If you have not heard about express entry, I would advise you go to cic.gc.ca and go and read about express entry. Now, there are different ways you can enter Canada. You can enter in as a student, okay? But eventually, you need to have it at the back of your mind that the best is to be a permanent resident. Now, as a permanent resident, the only thing you can't do is you can't vote or be voted for. So you have access to every other facility, including healthcare, like every other citizen in the country. Okay, so that is the goal for you. And if you have been a permanent resident for about 3 years, then you become a citizen. Now, that is the goal. If you are a student, you still have restrictions on the amount of hours you need to work while you are a student. Some of them will say 20 hours while the school is on session. And when the school is not on session, then you can work for limited hours. So you still have restrictions. Some provinces don't cover healthcare for international students. So again, the goal is to get the permanent resident, to be a permanent resident. To be a permanent resident, you can apply from Canada. You can apply from Nigeria through express entry under the category called the federal skilled worker. So you can see now, we're already talking about immigration now. It's even away from dentistry. So you can see there are two differences. You've never started talking about practice of dentistry. You still want to enter Canada, you want to know your options. The first is you can be a permanent resident, but you need to apply through federal skilled worker under the express entry. Now, what they're looking for in federal skilled workers, they're looking for your degree. Your degree now, being a dentist, you are classified as a professional, so that's always very good. Secondly, they are looking for how good you can speak English, so you need to challenge IELTS and get top scores in IELTS. Okay, top scores. When I mean top scores, I mean top scores to maximize the points. It's a pointing system. You have to be able to. You have to fall for you to get maximum point on age. You have to be less than 29 years. Okay, if you are less than most of you, I feel you are less than that. So that should be an advantage for you. Then you need to have maybe a minimum of 1 year work experience. You understand? By the time they gather all these points like that, you need to be able to meet a cutoff, because I think every 2 weeks they do cutoff. You need to be able to make a cutoff. If you make that cutoff, then they will send you an invitation to apply. They'll tell you to go and apply for permanent residence. So you need to provide proof of fund. You need to provide documentation for all the things you said you have. Then you now apply. So it takes about 6 months or thereabout for them to approve your application, and eventually then they tell you to come to Canada as a permanent resident. Now, it's not as straightforward as that. I just gave you an overview. So you need to do a little bit more research. Some of you, if you have my details, you need a little bit, but you need to do research on your own, because you need to go and read about it. So, but that's just an overview of the way the permanent residency work. For me, I came in as an international student. I came in as a study leave, as a student. They gave me a student work permit. So I used that for like a year and a half. Then I applied, because I was already a dentist from Nigeria. And that was when the express entry became very popular. And I applied as a permanent resident while I was in Canada under the federal skilled worker. So I wrote IELTS, just all the things I listed for you, and I did really good. So I met the cutoff and I applied. So before I finished my public health degree, I was already a permanent resident in Canada. So again, it's all about the information. It's all about acting on information. Someone just told me about the information, and I went to read about it. Just the same way I'm telling you guys about it. Now, I went to read about it and I started working on it. Now, I don't know whether they are still doing draws for the federal skilled worker for people coming from outside Canada. I don't know, because I think the COVID kind of affected things. But even if they stopped it for now, they're going to bring it back up, because COVID is kind of, the restrictions are being lifted right now. And so you can also try the student route as well, knowing fully well that when you get into Canada, you want to look for opportunities to apply out for a permanent resident. Because again, if you are not a permanent resident, then it kind of holds your dental dream, because all the schools will ask you, are you a permanent resident? But that's when you can get loans to go back to school.
Thank you very much, sir. Going to the chat box, there are some questions. The first one is, why do Nigerian trained dentists choose to practice in Canada/US, considering the high cost of the DGS and DMD program, when they are required, when the UK places are quite cheaper? So that's just the question. Now, why do Nigerians prefer to go to the US and Canada?
This is UK are quite cheaper. Is that what the person said in the story?
Yes.
So
requires much less capital.
From my own experience, you make more money as a dentist in North America. I can talk about Canada to be precise, as compared to the UK. Now, even people in the UK, I have a lot of friends that they came from the UK. They were practicing dentistry. They are trying to get into Canada now. Now, I know it's expensive, but nothing good comes easy. But guess what? If you eventually get the dentistry and you start to practice, you work really hard within 1.5 to 2 years, you pay back your loan. Again, if you go to a Canadian school, I don't know what is applicable in the States, so I can't talk about that. So the point here is, you really have to want it. A lot of things. See, I didn't have money. I did all sort of hustle jobs, just to get, and God was faithful. God really helped me just to get to the stage I am, so nothing good is going to come easy. There's no shortcut out of it. If you want to get into Canada, and I'm trying to be very strict with you guys, people that know me, they know I don't sugarcoat things. If you want to get into Canada or the States, you have to work really hard. Like, you have to work really hard. and it's very expensive. You have to come. That's why if you're a permanent resident, you can get government loans, you can get bank loans to fund your dreams. There's no way you can achieve your dream to be a dentist with your pocket. Even when you write all the exam with your pocket money, when you want to challenge this, when you eventually get into school, and they're asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars, you need a bank loan to get you through it. And guess what? Eventually, when you get your license to practice, guys, you're living a good life. You can pay back this loan. So it's worth it. Let me just tell you guys that it's worth it. I went back to school for 2 years, and I can tell you, if they even made the program 4 years, I would have done it. That's how much it's worth it. Because you relearn dentistry, everything makes more sense, and you make more money while doing that when you are practicing. So there's no easy way out. If you want to go to the UK and you feel that it's easier, good. But if you want to come to North America, Canada to be precise, it's going to be more costly. It's going to be more tedious exam-wise because you're going to write a lot of exams. It's more competitive. But it's possible. There are a lot of Nigerians that are still getting in. So just so you guys know, there are a lot of Nigerians. I'm in touch with a lot of my friends and people that I don't know that I just got in touch with me. They are still getting into these programs. So it's possible, but you need to be dogged. You need to want it. You need to work hard. And yeah, you're going to get it. Just the way it is. Yeah. I hope I answered that question. Moderator.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
and the last question from the chat box before we head to the second session is, for people that came late, someone asked, can you please briefly run through the pathways again? And what's the difference between the licenses gotten from the different pathways and what are their limitations? So you can just, in a minute, run through the pathways for the people that came late, sir.
Okay, so there are 2 pathways to practice dentistry in Canada. Clinical dentistry. Okay. The first pathway is to go back to school for 2 years, 3 years now. Most of the schools have now made it 3 years. When I was doing it, it was 2 years. To go back to school for 3 years, 2 to 3 years, or to do the direct licensing, meaning you need to write 3 exams. So if you want to go back to school for 2 years, you need to write 1 exam, and that's the assessment of fundamental knowledge. They might have changed the name now. If you need more information on that, please go to ndeb.ca. ndeb.ca. All the information you need is there. But if you want to go back to school, you write 1 exam, which is the assessment of fundamental knowledge. Now, when you write that exam, I heard it's a pass or fail now, which is good. When I was doing mine, then it was like a raw score, so you need to score really high. But now it's a pass or fail. But you need to pass that exam and apply to schools in Canada. So there are about 6 to 7 dental schools in Canada. Now, some of them don't accept that AFK again. Some of them accept other exams now because things are starting to change. Again, when you get to that stage now, you're going to do more research on each of the schools and their requirements. Again, I can't go into that because of my time limitation. But at least majority of the schools still take that first exam. You apply to all the schools, then you get an interview. NDEB, not NDBE, NDEB. NDBE is for the states. So you go back, then you apply to different schools. So you interview in different schools. And when you interview in different schools, they will test you. Most of the schools will test you clinically. So meaning you have to and most our clinical skills coming from Nigeria is actually not the greatest, especially when it comes to resto. So you might have to enroll for some clinical training classes that will help you get your skills, get your skills going. So you have to apply to schools. If you get admission into school, you go back to school, you get yourself retrained, and you get their degree. So you're going to get a DDS or a DMD. It's the same thing. There's no this thing. Same thing. And you start to practice as a general practice. If after that you want to do residency, you want to lecture, you can do that. Now, the advantage in going back to school is that you already have a DDS or a DMD. So you are like equally trained with any other Canadian students. So nobody's going to discriminate you. Anyway, in fact, that is when your experience in Nigeria starts to count for you, because when employers look at you, they look at, you have a DDS and DMD. plus a good year, then you now have maybe 1 or 2, 3 years of experience from Nigeria. So you become very marketable. Lots of jobs will be chasing you. As compared to their own students that are just fresh from dental school. All the experiences that some of you are going to get with that 1 or 2 years when you are fresh from dental school. Some of their students are just getting it. They are probably not good in extractions. You're already very good. So all those experiences count. So job-wise, you're up there. You're flying. Everybody wants to employ you. You understand? So that's one of the pros of that. But again, you have to go back to school for 2 years and spend a lot of money. But once you get the admission, there's bank funding to get you through the process. Money is not a problem at that point in time. The second option is to go through the direct licensing. So you write 3 exams. You write the first exam, which is the same thing as the first pathway, assessment of fundamental knowledge. You write the second exam. I believe the names have changed now, but I think that just take it like that. The second exam is assessment of clinical judgment. It's more like OSCE. You do that. If you pass it, then the third stage is assessment of clinical skills. They will test your skills, and they will test you over a range of a lot of things. Some of the things you've never done in Nigeria. So the reason why when you get it, you need to kind of train yourself. You are going through that pathway. Now, the advantage in that is that it's probably the faster route, because if you pass all your exams at one sitting, good for you. You don't have to go back to school for 2 years. Probably the cheapest route if you pass it, but at least you are still going to spend nothing less than $50,000-$60,000. But guess what? Most of the money might be coming from your pocket, as compared to when you go back to school and you get funding from the bank and the government. Again, there are other funding opportunities if you want to pursue that right, but again, you have to be a permanent resident to be able to access those funds. Now, the other part is that people say there is discrimination, meaning someone that goes through the direct licensing and someone that goes through school. Like they usually value people that has a DDS or a DMT as compared to someone that has a direct licensing. Well, again, I didn't witness that because I went back to school. People always say it. And again, from my experience going back to school now, I know that I can't trade that for anything. For me, it's the number one, because you have to retrain yourself. There's a lot of things I learned: crown, bridges, restoring implants. These are the things that we are usually don't do in Nigeria, but I kind of retrained myself here, and I learned it while I was in school, and I made all the mistakes I could make. And now that I graduated, it's something that I do every day, because you have to improve your skills to be able to make money in dentistry. So the point here is, there might be discrimination after graduation. You don't go to their own school in North America. So reason why that number one option is usually the best for me. I haven't said that option 2 is always there. Yeah, and that's that. I hope I got that. I kind of give you guys pros and cons.
Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Banjo. So we've come to the end of our interview with you. But I would like to chip in one question. Did you do NYSC when you were not coming back?
Well, I started NYSC, but I didn't finish. So let me tell you guys, and let me just tell you guys, don't waste your time doing NYSC. If you have opportunity to tap out, it's a waste of time. See, especially, and I'll say this now, especially for those of you that you don't have that much support financially. I felt that if you go to another place and the little money you have saved up for your house job, you are going to spend it. It's going to further kill your dream of traveling out. If you have an opportunity to move and you really want to move, some people use their call, they want to do NYSC. It's not a bad thing to serve your motherland or your fatherland, as you guys will call it. But the point here is, if you have an opportunity to move. I felt the time I moved was the best time I could move. Because I did the first part, but I'd gone to all those rural places that they posted now, that spent all my house job money. And I wouldn't be able to achieve my dreams. Now, I know so it's not compulsory. Especially if you want to come and relocate here, unless you are coming back to run for political office, which is not even necessary. But like I said, I started, but I didn't finish. But I'll just say this, and this is for an average person there, before I kind of close up and the next speaker takes over. See, nothing good comes easy. You have to work hard for it. And this is the message that even if you are staying in Nigeria, it is enough stress to even get residency, you will sweat. To get a good clinic, you will sweat. So it's not just what taking the risk and going to a place that even when you stress and it pays off, it's going to still work out for you. Now, some of you that are just finishing are going to start out job. It's not a time for you to go and buy a car. It's not a time for you to go and sit down with billions and be eating as soon every Friday night, spending your money. A lot of my friends too, then they were buying cars. Me too. But the little money I was saving, how much was I collecting then? 145,000 naira then. And I was also doing 2 jobs, doing like locum outside while I was doing house job. Again, those things will increase your skills. But at the same time, all my money from house job. So this is me adding a personal touch to this session now. So that when you see me, you won't look, this guy just had it easy. No. And I'm sure the next speaker will also tell you our experience too. No. You have to work really hard. You have to save your money. It's not a time to, ladies, it's not a time to go to Dubai. I'm not, hey, if you can afford it, your parents can send you, good. But if you are German like me, you have to be that strategic. Plan every naira, especially now that dollar and naira is not laughing. Even your house money is not enough. It's just going to catapult you a little bit. It gives you that spring in your boot to just move ahead a little bit. But you have to be that strategic. You're communicating on this thing. Try to save as much. I'm not saying you should not chop your life. You're not a doctor. At least enjoy your life. But save. At least if you are, again, I don't like to set target because everybody's pocket is different. But at least if you are going throughout job, I don't know how much they're paying you. You should be able to save at least 1 million naira from your house job. If you can't save that, then again, you need to have a very big sponsor somewhere that will sponsor your dream, especially if you want to jump out. But if you want to stay in Nigeria, all well and good. People still stay in Nigeria and do well. You get what I mean? I'm not trying to say it's not everybody that will come to Canada or America or UK. Some people will still stay back and still live a very good life. But if you want to come to Canada, you have to be that strategic. Now, those are the strategies I used that gave me that spring in my shoes. That even at that, when I got in, I remember when I paid for my first time MPH tuition, and I paid for my accommodation for the first month. I only had about $50 in my account. I had to get a job because there's no way I could survive on it. You understand? I had to get a job and I had to work hard. And even when I got that job, when I was making the money, any dollar that was coming in, I had a big budget and I was following it. The one going to dentistry, the one going to PR application, the one going to school fees for the next 10. You have to be that strategic. If not, life is just going to go by. Just go by like that. And I can stay here and talk all day. You understand? Because sometimes when I see you guys, it's a reflection of myself 10 years ago. You get what I mean? You guys have to be that strategic. So I wish you guys all the best. If you guys want to get in touch with me, you can always get my phone number or my email or my Instagram or anything from your estate.
Chat box.
Yeah, God bless you.
Have access to it. Thank you, Banjo. We appreciate if you drop your email or your Instagram account in the chat box so that anybody that wants to message you personally can message you. Thank you very much for this. We appreciate you. We hope you'll be very accessible for us to keep on asking you, oh, I want to take this next step. What can I do? And I hope it will not be a bother to you. And then all of us to make this money I'm making. So sometime in the future.
Amen. I will try my best. I usually have a very busy schedule, but this is my calling to encourage young people. So I usually still make out time. Now, one thing I expect from you guys is if you are coming to talk to me, do your research. This is a foundation. Read, go to ndb.ca, go to Canada immigration website, do your own research. By the time you are coming to me, you already kind of have an idea of what you're doing. You understand? And we can go from there. Usually things move faster because I'll ask you questions and tell you, okay, what research have you done? And if you are now having confusion after so much research, I can now guide you through the process. So God bless you guys. Above all, I just want to wrap up with this. The final part. I know it's taking a little bit of time. God factor. There's nothing I could have done without the help of God. I'm not trying to preach to you guys or anything, but just trying to tell you that, the road ahead is bright. The future is bright. And it's much more brighter with God on the side. So whatever you believe in, just stick to it and, be good with it. Okay? Because God helps. So thank you guys. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. So moving on, we'll be having our second speaker, Dr. Damilola Edun. She graduated from University of Lagos. She acquired a BDS Lagos. She's the co-founder of Black Dentists Canada. She practiced for 4 years and immigrated to Canada. She worked as a dental assistant in Canada, and she's currently in an international dentist program in the US. Can we please welcome Dr. Damilola Edun? You're welcome.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Hello, ma'am.
Can you hear me? Okay.
We can.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, Dr. Banjo. I haven't seen this young man in such a long time, so it's nice to see him. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Well, fine, thank you, ma'am.
All right, that's good.
Yes, ma'am. So to kickstart the session, ma'am, the first question for you, ma'am, is what are the steps process to becoming a licensed dentist in the US? We know you are currently having your international dentist program ongoing.
Okay.
So thank you.
All right. So let me just give you a brief background about my journey, just so that you can have a better understanding of it's going to lead me to answer that question. So just like Dr. Ban just spoke earlier, I finished in 2012. We were in the same class. I practiced a bit for 4 years, and then I just moved to Canada. I applied to the Canadian schools as well. I did that for 2 years, and then later on, I just decided to diversify and go to US. Sorry, the question was, what are the what?
What are the step-by-step process to becoming a licensed dentist in the US?
Okay, so I don't know if there's like a step-by-step that you have to actually follow, but there's things that you need to do in order to get to the end goal of becoming of getting to a program in the US, and then also possibly practice in the US as well. Of course, you have to have like your DDS. It's not like Canada where you can just write like a couple of exams and then start practicing. Usually for an international dentist coming into US, your options are not as diverse as Canada, right? You have people who do a residency program. I know a couple of people who are resident doctors in University of Lagos, and then they got into residency programs in the US, and then now into the whole teaching field. They're working as specialists. You can do that. You can do the residency programs. However, let me just state that it's not as easy to get into those programs because they're very, very competitive. Like you're dealing with people who are US trained doctors, and then people who have written like years and years and years of research. So it's not really an easy program to get into, but you do have people that actually go through that route. And then you can also decide to get into like a teaching position, like you do your master's, you do your PhD, and you get into a teaching position. Again, not so easy because you're also competing with people who are trained here. Because the thing is, to North America and the rest of the world, they still see us as third world country, right? And so they consider our education as not it's not a standard level of education, even though that's not necessarily true, but that's just like the bias that is out there, right? So you have to know that when you're coming into that situation, trying to get into like a teaching program, you have to really, really, really be amazing. Like you have to be really, really like higher than average. They look at different things. They look at your transcript, they look at your experience. So you're dealing with people who have done PhDs, who have done thesis, who have done research, who are like top dogs in their field. So you have to understand that those are the type of people that you're competing with in terms of trying to get like a teaching position. And of course, like they're thinking about their students. They're thinking about who will be in the better position to impart the best best knowledge to their students. Who are they going to pick? If you were the one that you were at school, who will you pick? So those are the things that you have to think about. That okay, you know what? If I want to go into a teaching program, if I want to do a master's, if I want to do a PhD, I'm probably going to have to work harder than the next person. And then the third option will be maybe, yeah, the third option will be you doing it. So there are people who actually just do like, there's some states in the US where you can just write some exams and then you get your license, but it's limited. So it's limited in the sense that you can only practice in that state. I don't know how successful people that have done that, because I don't know anybody that has gone through that route and is actually practicing. But during the process of trying to like apply to schools, I got to hear about that option where people actually just I don't know if it's that they write exams or they have another program in the US that you go through and then you get like a limited state license. And then there are people who, of course, like I said, go to the residency program in US and then start practicing as specialists. And of course, you can't, once you become like a specialist in the field, which is the same thing that you have in Canada, once you start practicing, or once you're licensed as maybe as an endodontist, for example, you can see general dental patients, right? So in a way, your practice is streamlined. And then, of course, if you're someone who doesn't mind that, you can do that, right? And then the other option will be going to a DDS program, which is what I'm in right now, where you apply to schools, you, by the grace of God, you get in. Once you're done, you get your DDS, and then you can start practicing. So the reason why I need to say that is because in Canada, you have the option of writing the direct licensing program, the direct licensing exams, and then you can actually now start practicing when you're done. You don't have that option in the US. So just so that everybody's clear. Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay.
So our next question is, how does it feel going back to school? Like going back to dental school again?
I mean, we're just done with a quarter, like a semester. It's it's good. It's a nice feeling, but of course, it's also what's the word? Like I haven't been in school in almost like 10 years. And then now I'm back in school. Of course, I've been studying to like pass exams and all that, but it's not the same as being in school. But what I would say is that it's challenging in the sense that, okay, you have to get back into the whole system of, okay, you're going to classes, you're learning from lecturers. You have to actually also humble yourself because you're probably as knowledgeable as the person that's teaching you, but you have to like just humble yourself. So that for me, I feel like is a huge challenge for most people. It wasn't a challenge for me because I came into the program knowing that I was trying to better myself clinically, not knowledge-wise, because of course I have the knowledge, but I was trying to make myself better clinically. So I went into the program with an open mind. So I know that, speaking to other colleagues that are in the program, I know that it's a challenge in the sense that, okay, you're coming in, you have to learn from someone who probably doesn't have as many degrees as you, for example, but you just have to learn because they are the ones that can give you what you need, right? And so that's one thing. And then two, of course, getting back into that structure. I've been practicing for a while. I've not been in the same structure of someone telling me what to do, how to do it. Okay, this is when you get up, this is when you read, and all that. So getting back into that student structure initially was a bit challenging for me because, for example, like I have to wake up like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. I have to study at certain times. I had more control over my time not being in school, but now that I'm in school, I have to follow a certain structure. Not that they're strict, but you just have to follow a certain structure to, move along with the program, make sure you're doing assignments and projects at the right time. So for me, getting back into that rigid structure was a challenge, right? And then also, the good thing about it is I'm also learning dentistry, so it's not as stressful. We're learning new things, so that part for me is quite exciting, right? And then also just having to study so much stuff, things that I got away with in dental school in Nigeria, things that I didn't have to like study as much. Now I'm being forced to like study them because the thing in North America is a lot of things are it's not just knowledge based the way it is in Nigeria, where you just cram stuff and you just pour. You have to really, really understand what it is that you're reading. because you're also applying, because a lot of questions are clinic based, right? So you have to really, really understand concepts. You can't just like cram it. And then things like, for example, prosthodontics that I hated. I personally hated it in Nigeria. I think a lot of dentists from Nigeria hated it just because of the foundation that we had. Coming into US, luckily we have a prosthodontic lecturer who is she just has a passion for what she's teaching, right? And so she was able to like break down a lot of things. And so I was now forced to like relearn things, understand, and now I have a better understanding. So yeah, you have to do a lot of studying. You have to really understand concepts, because a lot of your questions are like clinic based, to really test if you really understand what it is that is being taught. But other than that, I mean, like, other challenges that you have, like, you know, being a new environment, handling new people, all that is just something that just wears off like in 1 week, right? Because we're human beings, we adapt to situations very well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ma. Moving on, we would ask why the US? Why not Canada or the UK? Why did you choose the US?
Okay, let me start with the UK, because I feel like a lot of people are asking that question. The thing about the UK, so I have a friend who just completed the exams, and now she's licensed in the UK. The thing about the UK is you're basically just writing exams, right? You're just writing exams and you're done. So your decision about what country to go to really depends on what you're working with, in the sense that it depends on what your skill level is. So you have to be honest with yourself and really do a good assessment of where you are skill-wise, not knowledge-wise. Like, every dentist in the world has the same level of knowledge, some more, some less, but we're once you're done from school, you're good to go. But what differentiates one dentist from the other is your clinical skills. At least outside the world, that is what really sets one dentist apart from the other. And so you have to really be honest with yourself, in the sense that, okay, what is my clinical skill like? Because in the UK, you're just writing exams. You write one exam, write an exam, you write an exam, and you're done, right? And that's it. You start practicing. For me, that is not what I wanted, because I knew that I wanted to go through a program where I would really, really like have an opportunity to work on my skills. And when I say skills, I'm talking about advanced dentistry. I'm not talking about just like fillings, root canals, and all that. Like, advanced work. Like, you see young dentists doing like sinking implants, doing bridges, doing that and that and that, you know. So I knew that I wanted more. I didn't make use of the opportunity of going for an elective program like Dr. Banjo did, but I have always been someone who has always wanted more out of life. And so I would have the opportunity to like go online, like see what other dentists were doing, and I could just compare it with what we were doing in Nigeria. And I just knew that it was not up par. So I knew that after dental school, I would definitely need to go for an advanced dental program where I can work on my skill sets to become the dentist that I want to be, right? And so I knew that UK was never an option, because I just knew what it was. Yes, they do go for clinical trainings and all that, where you go for one course or the other. But really, I needed something very intense, something more like a school structure, where I could go through a program. You know, I'm learning on the people, I get to make my mistakes, and then when I'm done, I know that, okay, I've acquired the skills. So UK was not an option. Canada, I actually tried in Canada. Like, I applied for 2 years. I interviewed for 2 years. I didn't get into any school. And then, as at the time when I was just, and the irony is, as I was applying to schools, I was also doing the direct license program. Like, I did the first exam, the assessment of fundamental knowledge, I passed that. I did the assessment of clinical judgment, I passed that. But I knew my heart was not in it. I knew that was not what I wanted in terms of the direct licensing exam, for the same reason why I didn't even try the UK. I wanted something that would help me work on my skills, right? And then so the going to school route was Canada was my first option because I'm originally from Canada. Like I immigrated to Canada, right? So I didn't get into school. I mean, Canada is they have limited seats and all that. And so as at the time when I was almost giving up, my husband was like, okay, let's try the US. And then I had a friend too who said, let's try the US together, And I was like, okay, whatever, let's try the US. And that honestly, me getting to a US school was just the grace of God, because I didn't, when you have tried and tried and tried something and it hasn't worked. At that time, I had already given up. So I was just like, okay, let's just do it, so that they'll not say I did not do it. Let's just do it. And I interviewed at schools. I interviewed at 3 schools, and I picked Loma Linda University, which is where I'm at right now. So sorry, let me just pause. I speak very fast, so if you guys can't hear me, can you just like let me know, okay? So sorry. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead. Okay, so yeah, so my husband and my friend were like, let's just try the US. And honestly, even though, yes, I was already giving up, I'm the type of person that I am. I just don't jump into decisions. And so I had to do an assessment. Okay, you know what? Is the US really a good option? And then I did my research. I found out that they have more states. Like in Canada, you have, 5 dental schools. I think it's only 4 right now that are still offering the international dentist program. And then each of them have maybe like, one school probably has like 2 seats, another one has 2, 3 seats. It's just a ridiculous number for the number of people that are actually trying to get into the schools, right? And so when I compare it with the US had many seats. They have many dental schools. You can have one school having like 30 seats. Like that's what it is in the US. And then also, at that time, I also had a friend who was in UCLA. I had another friend who was in Buffalo. And then, I would speak to them like, what's the program like? And, they were like, oh, it's a good training program. I mean, I know, I also spoke to some of the dentists. So I was working as a dental assistant at that time. And so I would speak to the dentists I was working with, like, oh, what do you think about, schools in the US? Like, what's the program like? Do you, what's about? And then the funny of those actually dentists who finished from the US and was practicing in Canada. And she told me, she was like, oh, the training program in the US is actually better. I don't know if that's the bias, but that's what she said. And then, a lot of the Canadian dentists too were saying that, oh, when you go to the US and you come back, you actually get to earn more, And at that time, I just still thought it was the bias until I spoke to my friend in UCLA who was actually completing his program. And then, he had finished his program and then he was interviewing for jobs in Canada. And he was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like they actually offer you more because your loan is more. That's kind of the logic, but that's what he was saying. Like they offer you more. And so I was like, okay, let me just give it a try. Of course, at that time, like there was also the thought of, oh, how do I get a loan to go to the US? Because in Canada, you get a loan as a permanent resident. However, there are just so many factors that come into play. It's not as easy as getting a loan if I were studying in Canada. So those were the things I was considering, but I was like, okay, let me just try. And I tried, and then everything just worked out, and then I ended up going to the US.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I can't hear anything anymore.
So our next question was actually going to be, what are the financial implications? But I think you already mentioned some of it by saying you had the loan. What other financial implications did you have?
Well, except your father is Bill Gates, I don't think you can actually pay for dental school by yourself. Except your father is Bill Gates, But the financial implications, you definitely have to get a loan. I mean, if you're coming from Nigeria, I don't know that there's any bank in Nigeria that can give you a loan to study here. So you probably have to, you probably have to start looking into like options of getting like loans in the US. I know a couple of colleagues who got like private loans in the US. I mean, they all offer different interest rates. Some of them offer like ridiculous interest rates to the point where it's like, what's even the point of getting this loan? I got my loan from a private loan company in the US. I got a cosigner. So cosigner is someone who, you know, is in good standing in terms of their credit worthiness. They have good scores. I don't know if I should break that down, but like there's a system here in North America where after a while you get to build your credit. So what that means is, what they're basically saying to any financial institution is, oh, this person is giving a loan, this person will pay back, or this person has the ability to pay back. So the longer you stay in the US or Canada, you get to build your credit worthiness. So usually, because I'm not an American citizen, right? I needed to get a cosigner there to stand in for me and say, you know what, if this girl dark class and doesn't pay her loan, I will stand in, right? So that is one option to get your loan in the US. That is the requirement to get a loan from a private loan person in the US. If you by some chance are an American citizen, or you know you have a spouse as an American citizen, you can get federal loans from the banks in the US. Even better, because you probably get a better interest rate. If you get to immigrate to Canada and you go through that system, you can get loans from Canada. The cost in that is that compared to, so because there's a like the US dollar is stronger than Canadian dollar. So whatever it is you're getting from a Canadian bank, you still need to get more because of the tuition cost in the US, right? So you probably, there's some schools that the tuition cost in US falls well under the maximum that you can get from a Canadian bank, because they're not just going to give you any number. There's a cap for all Canadian banks. So there's some schools in the US that fall under that cap and you're fine. But there's some other schools where you need to get a Canadian loan and also need to get more money as well. If you're able to get a Canadian loan, if you're going outside the country, you need a cosigner as well, because you're going outside the country. I mean, that's logical. Like, there's the probability that you may not come back, you're flight risk. So they need a cosigner who is in Canada, who can cosign and say, if this person doesn't come back, I'm going to be responsible for this loan. It's different for if you're studying in Canada, you don't need that, right? So those are the things you have to consider. Like, oh, if I want to go to US, can I really make use of any of these options? Because it's going to be very sad if after doing all the work, you like get into like a school and then you're not able to like fund your way to get into that school. That will be very, very sad. So you have to really, really consider all those options before you actually like start the process of applying to school in the US. And then also like just like what Dr. Banjo was saying, the before you even get to the level of tuition, you also have to like have a plan in terms of having money to apply to write the exams, because there are 2 board exams you have to write to apply to US schools. You also have to apply to a platform called CAPID. It's more like a centralized intake platform. So what that means is all the schools, or let me not say all, most schools, most dental schools that offer the international dentist program, they pull documents out of CAPID. So CAPID is basically like a platform where you as an applicant, you submit your documents, you build your profile on them, and then you submit to, and then you have an option of selecting the schools you want to apply to, and then CAPID sends your documents to all of them electronically, right? And then the schools pull your documents out of there. So even that, you have to pay to use that platform, and you don't really have an option of not using it because it's part of the requirements for most of the schools. There's not all dental schools use that platform, but I'll say like 90% of them use it, right? And then also even like the process of like getting your transcripts evaluated, all those things cost money. So just to buttress on what Dr. Banjo was saying, you really, really have to have like a plan, like especially in terms of like finances, you have to have like a solid plan. For me, like right from and then this is why what you guys are doing right now is so amazing, because we didn't really have that opportunity when we were in school. You know, when I was like in my, I think 500 level, like I knew I wasn't going to stay in Nigeria because I would interact with a lot of the resident doctors, and most of them didn't seem very fulfilled in their roles. And so I just knew that I couldn't do this, right? And so from there, I already started making my plans. Okay, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is how much I need. This and that and that and that. And so I knew my goal. I set up like a plan. Okay, at this certain level, I need to do this. I need to do that. In fact, by the time I was done with school, I did the NYC. During my NYC, I already started looking for one business to do. So as I was practicing, I practiced for 4 years. As I was practicing, I was doing business. Like I had an event company. So, you know, all that was like pulling resources in, and I was living like I was poor. Like a lot of my friends were like, "What's going on? What's going on?" I was even like I was poor because I was saving my money. I made sure that I still stayed with my parents. You know, I didn't even have a car. Like even my people were like, you know, using their house job money to buy car, buy this, buy that. You know, I saved my money because I knew that I wasn't staying here. So there was no point in wasting resources. You know, and I needed to do that because I wanted to immigrate to Canada. Of course, at that time, Canada was my goal, right? So I knew I wanted to immigrate to Canada, and the proof of funds then was like in millions. And I mean, my parents are doing well, but I wasn't going to try to break the bank because I wanted to move to Canada. Of course, at the end of the day, they also helped as well, but I needed to bring something to the table as well. So you just have to have a plan. Like I already told myself, you know what, for the first year or for the first 6 months before I get a job, I need to be able to like, you know, financially support myself. Even though yes, I had family here, I need to still support myself. So you have to have a plan, like very, very important. Like your financial planning game has to be like on point. You have to have a plan. Okay, at certain times is what I'm going to do. When I came into Canada, like within the first the first 2 months, I started writing my exams for for Canadian schools. I already knew I was not writing licensing exams. In fact, the only reason why I took the second licensing exam was because I wasn't getting a headway in terms of getting into a school. But as I was writing it, I just knew that I was wasting my money because I knew I was not going to follow through. Do you understand? So you have to have a plan. You have to know what you want. Because the thing is, when you start the journey, there are going to be a lot of distractions. There are going to be a lot of things pulling you in different directions. And so once you know what your goal is and where you're going to, that's what's going to help you like stay on track. That's just what I'm going to say.
Thank you very much, Ma. That was quite insightful. So we'd like to ask about the academic requirements from Nigeria. I think Dr. Banja said it earlier, but can you also redefine it? Academic requirements.
Okay. So for USA schools, I would say that the first thing you need to write is the NBD exam. So don't confuse it. For Canada, it's NDEB. For the US, it's NBDE. It's very tricky. I don't know why they did that, but that's what it is. So those are the board exams. So there's a part 1, and then there's a part 2. When I wrote my part 2, they stopped. So now they just have one exam, right? But my set was the set that wrote the last part 2. So now you just write one exam. And I don't know if that's a good thing, because basically you are going to study all you need to study for part 1 and part 2 in one exam. That's a lot of studying, but that's what they have now. So you definitely have to write that. You can write it from Nigeria. Actually, I know a couple of people who started writing their board exams from Nigeria. You can do that. You don't really need to go to like a training course or whatever. Like as long as you have people around you who have like materials and all that, something you can study on your own. Again, when I wrote mine, they still have the part 1 and part 2. So I just got materials from people who had, reading the exams. There's even even apps where they have questions that are being recycled by the board exams. So you can always use that to revise as well. So you definitely need to write that. You also have to, they also evaluate your transcript. And just to buttress on what Dr. Banja said, you have to work really hard at your grades, because even though it's a pass or fail, the schools still, so when UNILAG sends this, when College of Medicine sends your transcript over to the schools, they send your raw scores. So you just see pass or fail, but they send your raw scores. And then the thing is, other candidates that are trying to apply to the schools, right? I don't know that many countries in the world still do the negative marking. I don't know. So most times when they're assessing your transcript against other people's transcripts, theirs are better because they're not really going through the whole negative marking thing. So they have better scores. And not many dental schools understand that this is what is going on in Nigeria. So they just automatically assume that you didn't do well in school. But that's not what it was, right? So that's one thing. You have to like work really, really hard at getting like a good transcript. If peradventure maybe you've messed up from the beginning and maybe it's too late to like get a good grade, just know that you can also do a master's when you're done. I mean, is it better to work harder now or do a master's? I think it's better to work harder now because masters are not cheap either. But I know people who maybe after they looked at their transcript, they were like, oh, this is not good. And then they did the masters and got like a better GPA then. And then, that also helps to like buffer their application. And then you need to know that they also want to see that your English speaking skills are good. I mean, of course they're good because we're in Nigeria, but still they want you to do the exams, the English speaking exams. So you do either the TOEFL or the IELTS test, just to see. And then you also have to try and make high scores. I'm not going to really deliberate much on that because I expect everyone here to get like a high score. But the thing is, I would say don't take that exam lightly because there's a difference between speaking English and then writing English. So if you feel like maybe you still need help, there are apps online on App Store, on Android stores where they have questions you can practice through, and sometimes those questions actually also come out as well. And then let me see, you also need your transcript. There's some schools that do what they call an ADAT exam. So it's basically like a dental exam where they just like go through like biomedical sciences and just like basic dental stuff. So they ask you questions on like research and ethics, on biomedical sciences, clinical sciences, basic dentistry. And so when you have, sorry, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
ma'am.
You can? Okay. My AirPod just died, so I wanted to be sure that I didn't get disconnected. Anyway, so there's some schools that do that, and then they basically use that score to assess how good you are in basic dentistry. I don't know that it's necessary, but some schools do that. But most schools actually don't actually they'll you can write this exam, but it's not necessary. Like obviously not in those exact words, but that's what they're busy trying to tell you. Like, okay, don't kill yourself too much about this exam. If you have it, read. But don't. And there are some schools that will directly tell you that, okay, you don't need to submit this, right? So you also always have to look at you have to do your research, like go to all the schools, see what the requirements are. I wanted to say something about the transcript. So some schools take your transcript raw from school. Some schools want you to evaluate your transcript. So you have to send it to either WES, so it's World Education Services, or you send it to ECE, Educational Credential Evaluation. So those are two bodies that help to evaluate transcripts for North American schools. I would say that most schools tend more towards ECE, but there are some schools that also use WES. So just do your research just so that you don't waste your limited funds. And then let me see, you also need a letter of evaluation. So good that you guys are like starting early, so you can just start talking to some of your professors, some of your friends that are like teaching you guys right now. Oh, these are my plans, these are my goals. I might need a letter from you. Those are things you start working on now. Just because the thing is, the schools especially tell you, okay, you need a letter from your dean. you need a letter from a lecturer that taught you in school. So if you don't have a good relationship with these people, how are you going to be able to ask them for a letter, right? So just because you already know what your end goal is, just start working on those relationships now. And then there was something else I wanted to say. Yes. So in terms of, you also need to submit like a resume. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. So you also need to send a resume to all the schools. And basically what the resume has is, yes, your profile, yes, you went to school, great, amazing, but they also want to see the things that you did in school. So that's where things like research comes in, things like community service comes in, and you can't claim what you did not do. So right now that you're still in school, try and, if you're not involved in community service, try and involve yourself in as much community service as you can, because these schools, they don't, even though you've written to your resume, they also want like the contact information of someone that can verify that you do those things. Do they actually contact them or not? I don't know, but if it's asked for, you never can tell. They can actually contact someone, right? So try and work in that. Like if you can find yourself in if you can find yourself in a leadership role, like I remember when I was in school, I was part of like the ComStat Exco. Like at that time, I just did it. I wasn't really thinking about putting it in my resume, but when I first seen them request for things like that, I had to, because the way Capit is, it will tell you, okay, this is what you should put in. Like it's give you a breakdown of what should be in your resume, and then also what you should put on your profile. Like they'll ask for leadership roles, teaching roles, community service roles, you know. So if you don't have an answer, what will you put? And things like that are important because you are competing with other people from other schools that have these things in surplus, in excess. Do you get? So those are just the things that I feel like you should start working on right now, just so that you can have like a good resume when you submit your applications to US schools.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Thank you very much, Ma. So our next question is, applying to be a dental assistant or hygienist, how is it a way to gain ground in the field abroad, and how do we go about that? And is it also a good pathway?
Okay, so let me answer the question of, is it a good pathway? It's a good thing, right? Because it's a good thing in so many ways, in the sense that when you work in the dental field, you know, even before you become like a licensed dentist in the US, you get to see firsthand how dentistry is being practiced. See, the thing about dentistry here is because you're dealing with not Americans who believe so much in diplomacy, you know, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. That's what comes to play a lot in North America and the US. And coming from our background where the way you see it is the way you see it. When you practice as a dental assistant or as a dental hygienist or as a dental receptionist, you get to see things like that. You get to see how other people handle situations, how they handle their patients. A lot of patients here are well informed, as in they are well informed. So you have to like choose your words wisely. You have to say things in a way that will not come off offensive, even though your intention is not to offend. So you get to see how dentists manage patients. You get to see how dentists manage their practice. You know, those are some of the advantages that you have. And so that's why when schools see that on your application, they know that you already have 50% of what you need to be successful as a dentist in North America. So it's a huge advantage. And then also you also get to see how, in terms of the clinical skills, like you get to see how you know, things are being done. Like for example, now, like in school right now, like my operative courses, my restoration aspect is good, because not because of the dentistry I practice in Nigeria, but because I saw how restorations were done back to back for 3 years, watching Canadian trained dentists do restorations, like how they'll move the instruments and the restorations will move in a certain way. Those are things, because you see it every day, it gets ingrained in your brain, you know. And so now that I'm doing it in the lab, I'm basically like repeating what I have seen. And that's because I worked as a dental assistant, right? And then you also get to see how, now coming from Nigeria, where we don't have a lot of like gadgets, a lot of like instruments, and then coming to North America where they love gadgets, it's gonna be quite embarrassing if because you did not see all these gadgets before, and then you start practicing and you're asking your dental assistant, what is this used for? How is this useful? It can be quite embarrassing, but because you've worked as a dental assistant or you've worked in the dental field, you've seen those things. So when you now actually start practicing, whether it's that you did a direct licensing or in Canada, or whether it is that you went to dental schools in the US or Canada, whatever route you pick, the transition is going to be very, very smooth because you've seen these things before. So it's definitely a huge advantage for you. It's a huge plus, not even in terms of applying to dental schools, just for yourself. It's a huge plus as well, because that experience, no one can take it away from you. And then in terms of the part where like also in terms of finances, it also helps you to have like a source of income while you're trying to apply to a dental school in the US. Like a lot of things that I paid for. Oh my god, I paid for a lot of things, right? So you pay for, like, even though yes, you're a dentist, you also want to do like a clinical skill course. That you probably, if you're in Canada, you probably have to travel to like a cost center in the US, things like that, flying back and forth, flights, things like that, moving around. It's money. It's money. Nothing comes cheap in the US or in Canada. Nothing comes cheap. So when you work as a dental assistant, right, you have a source of income. You have something that is paying for this pathway. You have to pay for it, because nothing's going to come to you cheaply, or no one's going to give you free stuff. Nobody's going to give you a free course. So those are the advantages that you also gain as well. And then you also have a better understanding of dentistry, because a lot of dentistry is clinically based, not theory based. In Nigeria, a lot of things are theory based. You cram and you pour. But a lot of things are clinically based here in North America. So you need to have a better understanding of, this is why this material is used versus this material. You see firsthand why this material is used versus this material. For example, like when they tell you like a composite, theory based, they tell you that composite, you shouldn't use composite, maybe for example in a situation where you cannot isolate the tooth properly, right? That is theory, but you get to see firsthand why when a patient comes in and maybe, for example, I'm not saying I've ever seen this done, but for example, they come in and then maybe they have sensitivity around their feeling, and then the dentist looks and sees, it's because there's marginal leakage, and then maybe the dentist probably had challenges while they were working. Maybe the gums were inflamed, maybe it was bleeding into the cavity, and then there's contact of moisture with the filling. You get to see the end result of why you shouldn't do certain things. You get to see the clinical application of the knowledge that you've acquired from Nigeria. So it's such a huge advantage. And I would say that it's something that is doable. It's something that you can do, right? I don't know if you guys want me to go into how you can get into those situations, but it's something you can do. You can work as a dental assistant, you can work as a dental hygienist, you can work as a dental receptionist, you can work as a treatment coordinator. Like you can do, like it's just like what Dr. Banjo said, like North America in general is such an enabling environment. Like as long as you're willing to put in the work, you can get what you want to do, right? You can work as in the US, you have to do there's like an X-ray. I can't remember what it is, but there's a certification that certifies you to take X-rays, and then you can also go into like the dental assistant program as well. As a dental receptionist, you can work as a dental receptionist, you can work as a treatment coordinator. There's so many things you can do in the dental field that it doesn't have to be like you're a dentist, right? And things like that also help you in terms of like your resume. Like once schools see that, okay, this person actually stayed in touch with dentistry, even though they're not able to practice as a dentist in the US.
So thank you very much, Tina. We would like to ask that we know nothing good comes easy, but must it have to be this stressful?
Well, yeah, it is stressful. Nothing good comes easy. Honestly, the thing is this, and this is one thing that I have realized now. Now that I have finished the first semester of dental school, it was stressful. But the reason why I was able to keep at it is because the work that I did to even get into it last time was more. And so I would say that that built up my should I say build up my character, but that built me up in the sense that, okay, you know what, I already had a background of, okay, you know what, no matter what comes my way, I'm not going to give up. And so when I got into the school, even though the first quarter was like stressful, it was like, oh, okay, it's not as bad as what I went through to get in. A lot of my classmates were saying that okay, it's stressful, but they know what they went through to even get into it. So I would say that the stress is an advantage. Why not see from the point of, okay, this is helping to build my character. This, even when you start practicing, you know, you're gonna face challenges. You're gonna face challenges with people, with your staff, with your colleagues, with patients. So why not see it from the point of, you know what, this is helping me to build my character? Because if you're someone coming to a situation of practicing as a dentist and it just came to you easily, you're not gonna value it. That's the truth. You're not going to value. So don't look at it as stressful. Yes, it is stressful. Guess what? You're in school right now. It's not easy, is it? You're in school. You're going through it. You're going to get your degree at the end of the day. You're going to be happy. So it's not that does it have to be stressful. It's just that you're working hard at something. And once you're working hard at something, it is going to be stressful. Like, it goes hand in hand. That's the truth. Even if you want to practice, even if you want to work as a dental auxiliary, you want to work as a dental assistant, a dental receptionist, is also stressful. So why not put the work into what you really want to do, which is to become a dentist? That's the way I see it.
Thank you very much, Ma. So last question before we go into the chat box to see if we have any more questions. Japa and marriage, how did you manage it? No, the female gender want to get married.
Oh, okay.
Marriage, how did you?
Marriage, how did I manage it? Okay, well, let me talk about marriage. Honestly, I feel like for me, marriage was a plus, or is a plus, in the sense that and this is something that I talk about a lot on my Instagram page. Like, you need support for this journey. You need support, and support doesn't even have to only come from your spouse. It can come from your friends. Like, I can remember when I was in the Canadian process, like Dr. Vanja was such a huge support system for me. Like, I'm sure you will start of my calls. You know, you need people who are in the journey with you. You need people who understand where you're going to. Not people that will be telling you, why not take the easy routes? Why not work as a customer service agent or something? Like, people that will be making you feel stupid for putting the work in. No. You need like-minded people who understand the goal. And for me, you know, I had friends, I had family who were supporting me. My spouse was such a huge support system. Like, I would say, and this is something I always say with my colleagues in school, like, my husband was, even though he's not a dentist, but he was even more determined for me to become a dentist. You know, he was even one that said, okay, you know what, Canada is not working, let's try the US. And I was like, what about this loan? Don't worry, let's do it. We'll figure out, you know. So for me, it was a huge plus. But again, you have to have like a spouse, like, and I feel like this is in general, not even just dentistry. You have to have a spouse who is willing to push you to become the best version of yourself. So if you're not married right now and you want to get married, or you think about marriage, you need to look out for certain qualities in your spouse. Not even just women, men. That's for certain qualities. I'm not trying to like be a marriage counselor right now, but you have to look for certain qualities in your spouse, like, because you already know the journey ahead for you. This person I want to get married to, is this someone that can add to me? Is this someone that can derail me from my goal, or is this someone that can help me to achieve my goal? So marriage is definitely, I mean, like, my husband is based in Canada. I travel back and forth from the US. Like, it's not even an issue. But you know, you will have some spouses that be like, no, I would have been here by myself. Or when you now have kids, you know, I have colleagues who, it's so funny how life just brings you certain people. Like, I have colleagues in school who, you know, obviously there's some that their spouses move down to the US with them, and there's some that their spouses are in another country, in another state with the children, and the woman has been studying, like she's just finishing, right? But her husband and children were in Louisiana, it's another state in the US. And then she was in Loma Linda, California studying. And the man was holding the fort down, like he was taking care of those children by himself for 2.5 years. So it's honestly, it's only if you marry the wrong person that's a problem, that marriage will be a problem. But I believe that marriage is supposed to bring out the best in you, and you guys are supposed to help yourself achieve your goals. So that's not even a problem. Like most people manage it well, and I would say that I'm managing it well right now, right? Just as long as you have had that conversation with the person, even before you get married, just so that the person doesn't feel blindsided. Like have a conversation with this person. Okay, this is what I want to do. This is how long it's going to take. Oh, this is what's going to be involved. Blah 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 blah. Have that conversation so that when you're coming to the marriage, you guys have like you have the same mind. Okay, this is what we need to do. Imagine me, like for example, like all my dentistry money was going into all the money I was making as a dentist and was going from dentistry, and then my husband was supporting the family. So that's the reason why you have to have the conversation so that both of you can, because the thing is, even though it's you that is doing it, the person is tied to you, so you're both doing it. Like the decisions you're making is affecting the other person, so you have to make sure, one, that you marry the right person and you have that conversation before you get into it. If you're already with someone who is not supporting, I don't know what I can do to you. You probably just need the help of a counselor, right? And then in terms of managing jackpot, well, I don't think there's anything to manage. You just jackpot. Honestly, you just move. Because the thing is, for me, I just didn't think that Nigeria had anything to offer for me. Again, and I'm not even trying to like make it seem like Nigeria has nothing to offer, because the truth of the matter is, Nigeria gave me a foundation, and it's now that I'm beginning to see the benefits of the foundation. It gave me this structure of, us now in Nigeria, we read. As if it comes to reading, we know how to read. So now that I'm in school, reading is not a challenge for me. And I already knew that what I had to work hard at is the clinical skills, right? So Nigeria gave me that foundation of, okay, this is how you study, this is how you answer questions, this is how you think. It has already built that in. And also because of the challenges that also comes with living in Nigeria, which we're all aware of, I feel like that has built in me this tenacity, this, okay, I'm determined, I must achieve it. And guess what? When I did my interview, it came up. It came up because one thing led to another. We started talking about different things. Oh no, they were asking me about why I feel like I'll be a good candidate. And it came up. I didn't even plan it, but the conversation of, okay, you living in Nigeria and still being alive is to the glory of God, and also that instills into you this will to live and this will to achieve what it instills in you this tenacity of what, against all odds, I'm going to make it. No matter the challenge, I'm going to make it. And the thing is, that is rare in North America, because in North America, everything is given to them. And so they don't necessarily have to work so hard as much as we are working. And so that sets you apart as a candidate. And when the interview was done, when he was standing back to me, I was like, wow, these are the challenges you went through and you're still standing. Wow, that's impressive. And when he was saying it back to me, I didn't think it was impressive, because guess what? That is normal for us coming from Nigeria. But for him, it was impressive because they've never really had such challenges, or they've never really had to deal with such things. So honestly, I would say that, back to the original question, how do you manage Jackpa? You just Jackpa, you just leave. I just knew that Nigeria no longer had much more to offer me anymore in terms of my education, and I just left.
Thank you
I don't know
very
if there's
much.
I don't know if there's something specific you want me to talk about in terms of like that question, but I don't really think there's. If you want to leave, just leave. You just work at it and you leave.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. I'm looking through the chat box. There are just about 2 more questions before we call it a day.
Okay.
Someone asked, everyone has been saying masters, that what master's courses can be done for dentists, and the dental assistant, what is needed to be a dental assistant? Can your BDS do it, or just how do you go about the dental assistant? And what master courses can one do?
Okay, so for the masters, most dentists going to public health, You also have dentists who do, just like Dr. Banjo, you also have dentists who do masters of dental science, or they do a masters of public health. The thing is, you can't just, like, if you're thinking about, again, if you're thinking about, oh, I'm trying to look for a different source of livelihood, then you can just do any masters, as long as you know what dentistry wants, what industry you want to go into. But if you're talking about doing a masters for like to add to your resume for dental school, then you have to do a master's that is dental related. You can do masters of dental public health. You can even do a master's of public health in general. That is also related to health, right? You can do a master's of dental science. I know quite a number of people who, when I was on this Facebook group, a lot of them were talking about masters of dental science, master of dental science. A lot of them have an opinion that a lot of schools value it. I don't know that for a fact. I didn't do a master's. I didn't feel like I needed to do a master's. I think it all depends on the school you're in. Like, there's some schools that value your master's, and there's some schools that don't. So it really depends on, again, doing your research, reaching out to students that are in that school, trying to find out from them what they think, what they feel was an advantage on their resume. Because the thing is, there's always a pattern with the schools. Like, when they select candidates, there's usually like an underlying pattern. Like, there may be varying differences here and there, but sometimes there are things they look at, and then sometimes when you ask people, they tell you they don't even know what they were looking for. Do you understand? So I would say, like, right now, start reaching out to, like, go on LinkedIn, schools that you might be interested in, like, try and find students that are in the schools and ask them. I mean, is a master's worth it? Yes. Education, an extra form of education, is always worth it. But if you can't afford it, can you do without it? Yes. But it depends on what schools that you're going to, right? Because again, you're competing with other candidates who have masters, double masters, PhD, research. Like, do you understand? So you also have to now start thinking about things that can help you stand out as a candidate. Okay, you know what? I don't have a master's. What do I have? For me, I knew I didn't have a master's. So what did I have? I built on the fact that I've been working as a dental assistant. And then I elaborated on the things, the skills that I acquired, working as a dental assistant. Like, for example, in dental school programs, some dental schools are trying to, like, add this what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. Is it digital dentistry? Where instead of taking, like, the manual impressions, you do, like, a scan with, like, a scanner. It's like a computer, right? So those were things that I learned as a dental assistant, and I perfected my skills. So I put that in my resume. And I know that most people don't have that, except if you work as a dental assistant. And not every dental assistant even has that skill. Do you understand? So if you don't have something, you have to look for what you have that you feel like makes you unique and elaborate on it. A lot of schools also look at, okay, is this a well-rounded dentist? Or is this just a dentist that is just book? Do you understand? Like, they want to see, do you have a social life? What other social skills do you have? Because the thing is, you're dealing with human beings, you're not dealing with computers. So you have to have, like, life skills. You have to have social skills. You have to have, they want people that have other interests outside of dentistry, right? Because they're not trying to train computers, they're trying to train human beings. So I brought up the fact that, I had an event company, I brought that up. Your community service, this is the thing. So if you don't have the money to do a master's, just get ready to elaborate something else you have as a quality that can help you stand out. But like I said, a master's will always be an advantage because it's an added form of education, and it can also help to build on your GP as well. For working as a dental assistant, definitely your BDS doesn't necessarily qualify you, but it helps you to get past some certain stages depending on the route you want to take. I'm going to speak on dental assistant in Canada because that's what I did. I didn't dental assistant in the US, right? For Canada, there are two routes. You can either do the dental assistant board exams. Actually, sorry, three routes. You can do the dental assistant board exams, and when they see that you're a dentist, they like a regular person can't just come in and write a dental assistant exam. You probably have to go to dental school, right? The dental assistant board exams is usually written by their dental assistants that have gone through training, and then they write that their board exams. Do you get? So you are coming into BDS, you pass that route of having to go to school, and you can just challenge the exams directly. That's one route. The second route is you can actually go through the dental assistant program. It's not it's the same number of years as a random person who's coming to Canada to want to work as a dental assistant. The third route is you can just get the job outright. Like you just have to write an X-ray certification, but not every province allows that. I know that it's allowed in Ontario, but I don't know if any other province, that no other province, gives you that opportunity. So those are the routes that you can take to write to become a dental assistant in Canada.
Thank you very much, Ma. We'll be calling it a day now.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ma. So there's this question from a participant.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ma.
You're welcome.
In a relationship with a dentist and who have plans to travel abroad or practice abroad. What advice
Sorry,
you
can
have?
you take that question again? I didn't hear you from the beginning. Just a minute.
What advice do you have for a dentist in a relationship with a dentist that both have plans to practice abroad?
The advice I would give you is have a game plan. Like if you want to decide what country you want to go to, let's start from there, right? If, for example, you say you want to go to the US, or you want to go, okay, let's start from, let's do US. Since I'm speaking on US, you want to go to the US, right? Have a game plan. Your game plan is very, very important because there are some certain challenges that you will face. One is finances, because you're coming into a new country, you don't have a job for the first 6 months. So you have to have a game plan. Is it that one person will work, the other person will start the journey, or is that both of us to do it together? If you want to start the journey together, do you have money to support yourself through that whole process? And then and all that. Okay, are we going to both work and be doing the process at the same time? The reason why I'm saying have a game plan and first of all decide the country you're going to is because if you're going to Canada, usually for the first exam you have to write, people advise you not to work because it's such an intense exam that you have to really, really study a lot. And so I find that people that are couples who are dentists who applied to Canadian schools and wrote the first exam, one person worked while the other person started. And then when the other person finished and got into school, then that person will support the other spouse through their own Canadian process. So it really depends on what country you want to go to. If you want to go to the US too, I have a classmate who, the wife is now a practicing dentist. He was working while she was doing the whole US program, and she got into school. She's practicing. Now she's practicing. Now she owns her own practice, and then he's now starting his own program. And now, God so good, he has got into a dental school in the US, and she's supporting him. She's paying the tuition. So you have to have a game plan. Honestly, you have to have a game plan. You guys have to have a foundation of trust. Not that when one person has now made it, then when the other person that is coming behind is trying to get into the whole process, and then you're not supporting your spouse. So you have to have a baseline of trust that you know what, we are in this together. I'm not going to abandon you, but we're going to get in together. If you want to do it together, fine, you can do it together. You just have to know that okay, you guys are probably just going to have to struggle harder because you don't have one person supporting the other. You're both in the fire or you're both in the storm together. So the advice I'll give you is decide what country you want to go to and have a game plan. What is our financial plan in terms of work? What's our plan in terms of dentistry? What's our plan? Because a house divided against itself is going to fall. That's the truth. That's my advice.
Thank you very much, Ma. We'd like to appreciate you, Ma, for the session. We'd also like to appreciate our first guests, Dr. Banjo Mojomi and you, Ma, Dr. Dami Edun, for this insightful seminar. We hope to have more with you later in the future, and we wish you the very best in the academic endeavor, and everything. You can kindly just drop your contact in the chat box.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I'll advise everyone to follow on IG. She will also drop that. I can also drop your IG handle.
Okay.
She tutors people on how to also, like this session we have, she's also skilled at it. That what she does on IG. So please let's follow her and using her that as life updates. So thank you everyone once again for this session. I remain Tosin Akimbade, Investor of Lagos College of Medicine, and my co-anchor, Funmilayo Ajala. This is brought to you by ULADS. Thank you very much. Do have a blessed evening and blessed day. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, Ma.
You're welcome. Bye. See you. Yeah. Bye.